Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings soccer slate breakdown. Sorry there was no video for the last Saturday slate. It was because I had a vet appointment for my dog, and I think this the contests were super small for whatever reason. I just felt like it wasn't a slate worth like uploading a super late video for, which is when I have to record it. But back on the grind again now for this slate, which is going to be interesting because it's a larger slate. There's a Liverpool and a big favorite and a lot of games and pretty nice contests. So I'm excited for it. In terms of the biggest favorites, I mentioned Liverpool. We've got Luton at minus odds and in Tottenham at minus odds against Brighton. Like those are kind of like the three games I like a lot. And let's look at projected lineups. So first of all, I got Fulham Bournemouth here. In terms of set pieces, mostly Pereira. We've seen Willian hop on a little bit, but Pereira's been the main guy, and he's been in super good form. Like I like him a lot. For Bournemouth, if it's this lineup, it should be a Tavernier and Cooks or a Scott split, not Cook, sorry. If there's no Scott, it'll be Cook splitting with Tav. And it still might be Cook splitting with Tav anyway. They've swapped in the past, but Scott's just so much more of a appealing player than Cook. Then the Liverpool lineup. And this team, it should be an Alexander-Arnold Robertson split like the good old days. We haven't seen those two together in a long time, both dealing with injuries at separate times or at the same time. Connor Bradley is still unavailable, so Alexander-Arnold is going to be guaranteed at right back probably. He got subbed early against Arsenal. I just got to think that they've been protecting him, and he's got to be fully fit by now. Robertson, I worry a little bit about getting the early sub because he's the one who's going to be making his first start probably, and they've seen Liverpool be extra cautious when it comes to these guys. So I'm a little bit afraid of Robbo. I love Alexander Arnold here. For Burnley, mostly good Munson with a little bit of Brownhill, maybe a split maybe. There's this Esteve guy who's their new signing at center back. He's like a 6K midfielder on DraftKings, which was absurd. So, but not that any of them are really that in play, probably, unless for like an insane DPP differential. Luton, Doughty, I love Alfie Doughty. He's been priced up a little bit here, but he might be the best non-Liverpool play on the slate, or up there as one of them. Luton have been pretty good recently, especially at home. They press and they've been getting goals. Like Adebayo and Carlton Morris have both been playing really well, and I've been enjoying watching them. I always like Jordan Clark too. Is usually pretty cheap. I haven't looked at what he is this slate, but he had like 11 points last game, whatever, when he was 3K against Brighton, and I loved him then. For Sheffield, Hammer on everything in this team with maybe a tiny bit of McAtee. Hammer's also always an interesting play. Like I like him as a player. I feel like Sheffield like kind of set reliant for him, though I worry a little bit about. He's been getting a couple of goal contributions here and there, but I don't know if this is the slate for him. For Tottenham, God, they're kind of a mess right now. We've seen Poro take most of the corners, and then Madison take some of the free kicks and kind of other little small field set pieces that are not corners. And it's kind of made Poro just not as great. And then we've seen Madison still getting there anyway, just because he's got so much dog, be quiet. He's got so much ability be to contribute in the open play through key passes and fouls drawn and just he gets so many points, but it's just scary picking him without set pieces. Then for Brighton, this lineup's gonna be wrong because I think João Pedro just got announced today as being one sec, guys. Ugh, my dog's being bad. Ugh, I'm back again. Okay, I was saying, oh yeah, João Pedro's not going to be playing because I think he's dealing with an injury. They already announced that he's not going to be in the squad for a bit. So this is, I don't know who's going to slot in for him, but I know that he won't be in. In terms of set pieces, if it's Estupinian in, it'll be a gross Estupinian split. Lamptey started over him last game, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's the case again, which would lead to a gross monopoly. It's just hard picking set piece takers against Tottenham because they hold so much of the ball, though. For Wolves, I think Wolves are gonna be popular. They've been popular like almost every game. And especially Cunha has just been on just the most insane tear I've ever seen. Back to back, just insane performances against Man United and Chelsea. I think he'll be popular, and maybe you can argue for good reason because he's just been on fire. He's super expensive now, though. Like, I don't know if I'll get there. I think people still continue to go back to the well for him, though, which I kind of worry about. So you could definitely see him doing well here against Brentford. For Brentford sets, Reguilon and Jensen split now. I really like Reguilon as a player. He's super attacking. He's been taking some set pieces with Jensen, and he's a cheap defender, I think, on this slate when I was perusing earlier. And Tony's a pretty good GPP play. Malpai's a good GPP play. There should be goals in this game, I feel like. So I don't mind targeting anyone from it, really. In terms of prices, let's go player by player. Salah's out, so the most expensive forward on the slate is Mateus Cunha. You could argue that it's just kind of inflated a bit because of that game against Chelsea mainly, but like he could definitely continue to do it. Like Man United and Chelsea and Brighton, and well, not Everton, but like these two games you could argue are more difficult than Brentford was, as bad as both Man United and Chelsea have been in the past. Like, I don't know. He's an interesting one. I just feel like because of how cheap the Liverpool attackers are, I feel like there's better plays on paper over him. But I wouldn't fault anyone for playing Cunha at all on his form. I think Tottenham players could be a good way to get different in GPP. I don't think I'd play him in cash, but like when Charleston's been on a crazy run, but like all these guys who've been hot, I feel like have been inflated price wise because of that. And that makes me scared of them a little bit because I feel like I can play a guy like Nunez or Diaz who have not maybe been quite as hot, although Nunez has been pretty good to be fair, and get a better matchup for cheaper. Gross, I'm not interested at all really for 9,400. I think that's too much for him. Like he's been pretty solid, but Tottenham's a lot tougher game. He did good against Tottenham last time, but it was at home. Like I'm not that interested in Pascal. Son's gonna be back. Ugh, there's so many good forward options. It's gonna be real difficult. I don't think I'd get there though in cash. EPP might have a sprinkle. Nunez, he might be my favorite cash forward. Like he just takes so many shots, and although he's not the most clinical, he still gets a couple of them in there, and that's all it takes. He's like one goal. He's on like 25 points almost because of just the sheer volume of shots he takes. Like I love Darwin Nunez here for 8,800. I think that's a fair price for him. Jota's been pretty good too. Um, he played 90 against Arsenal, so makes me feel like a little bit that he could be the forward rotated out or subbed early, one of the two. Since Klopp's been pretty balanced in his usage of his attackers, not really favoring any of them that much, other than maybe Nunez. But even he has his turns rotating, like his benched game against Arsenal. Although I think he was also dealing with a little injury, but still. Cody Gakpo, if he plays, I'm not that interested in that. He's definitely getting subbed if he starts. Probably won't though anyway. I don't really love and like I like Solanke for GPP. Pair him with like Alex Scott or something. I don't mind that. He's super hit or miss, but 7,600 is a fair price for him. We've seen him a lot more expensive than that on some of these slates. Diaz is the cheapest Liverpool attacker. I like that a lot. He looked really good against Arsenal. He kind of created the own goal that Liverpool scored, or I guess Arsenal scored technically. But I think he's super interesting for 7,400 for sure. Had that bang game against Chelsea. I could see him doing that again against Burnley. He's been the least probably effective though of the attackers in terms of points, but he's also the cheapest because of that. I like Luton to get different. Like they're cheaper alternatives to the expensive attackers, of which there are a lot. Like an Adebayo has been super hot. I think he's probably a little much too though for 7,400. Werner and Brennan Johnson, they're both not bad for that price. Like there's so many options. Ivan Toney, I think I'm talking about every guy, but there's just so many good options here. For GPP, I love an Ivan Toney play for that price. Carlton Morris, same thing. Like he's a good play. He's been super hot. Like he's just a good play. There's so many ways you can go at forward here. It's hard to pin anyone down as a lock. Any of these, any bargain forwards maybe? Evan Ferguson, 5,500. That's pretty cheap. I'd throw him in a GPP team just if I had to get some more midfield options. Broya, if he starts for Fulham for 4,800, I'd pair him with Pereira. I don't think I'd mind that. He's not been great for Chelsea, but I feel like that environment maybe is the larger issue for him, and maybe he'd do better at Fulham, although they've not had terribly effective forwards either. And there's not a ton here. I feel like I don't think I feel like I missed anyone. Like there's these Burnley guys for ultra cheap that are fine, I guess. Like if you have to go ultra punt, David Datro Fofana. Okay. For midfielders, James Madison's the big name here. Like, look at that. He's been just really good in his time back, but I just don't know if I want him without set pieces. Like, he's not gonna get those 15 crosses that you'll see from some of the other set piece takers, but like, he's just a solid player. I think he's a big decision here. I think I'd say I like Doughty more than Madison for that price. That's a hard one though, for sure. But like, this is my kind of guy, someone who just spams crosses in because you don't need a goal contribution if you do that. Like, he gets like 12 points or minimum 10 points probably, especially at home to Sheffield. Oh, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. But I like Doughty a lot. Pedro Neto has been really good. He doesn't take when Sarabi is on. Did I mention? I feel like I forgot to say Wolves sets, but it'd be Sarabia Monopoly probably in this lineup. If there's no Sarabia, it'll be Neto taking, and if Tommy Doyle's in, he'll probably split with one of the lefty set takers. But Neto's been really solid. I just don't think he has much of a floor, which I worry a little bit about. But if he continues to have these insane ceiling games, like what does it even matter? Pereira, I like Pereira a lot. He's been insanely solid. I don't think that's a bad play. When the main favorite is Liverpool, most of their good players are either forwards or defenders. So that kind of leaves the midfield slots open for your Pereiras, for your Doughty, for your other teams, really. Barkley, he's just been crazy too. A lot of these teams is coming into just insane form. Like he doesn't even take many set pieces, and look at these points he gets. Just incredible. Man, this is like a gonna be a tough slate. There's so many ways to go. Kulu for that cheap, like that's not that bad. He's not been great, but he could definitely he has these big games at times. Oof, hard slate. Roman Fabra, he came on a bench against off the bench against Bournemouth or for Bournemouth against Fulham, I mean. I don't think that's that crazy. Actually, it kind of is considering how much solid midfielders there are, how many solid midfield options there are. So I don't think that's that big a play. There's Hammer. 6K, I think is a little slightly too much for him. He's put up solid numbers, but I think with just how insane the midfield is here, don't think he's worth. Alex Scott for 5,800. I like that a little bit more. It's a slightly better matchup for for Bournemouth, I'd say, than Sheffield. I think he has a little bit more upside than Hammer. Jensen, I don't really like that for 5K. Looking for value here more than anything, which I'm not seeing a ton of Christie, he's pretty solid. He got subbed early, but I think that's just due to rotation. He's usually just a 90-minute player, other than that one game. So that's like a last man in for value. I don't think that's that bad. Brownhill, I don't think this is the matchup for him. Tahith Chong, if he's in, I think that's a really good play. I like Luton right now. He's not been playing a ton, but he definitely has the capability to get in on the action. Um, went in just to compliment the other Luton guys. Tommy Webb, 3,800. I feel like he's more likely to split with Neto than Sarabia. So if there's no Sarabia and Doyle is in, I could see myself getting there for sure. There's Jordan Clark. I like Jordan Clark a lot here. He doesn't play a ton of minutes, but for this price with that matchup, that's a good play. I was looking at Wataru Endo. I don't think that's a bad last man, and it's Liverpool exposure. He's been pretty good the last couple games before he went off to the Asia Cup. If he starts, I don't think that's a bad last man in just for just extra Liverpool coverage. Tom Davies, I'd go Endo over him, I think. Oh, there's Esteve. He's actually a 3K mid. Um, none of that. Okay, so there's a couple of value guys there for sure. Endo, Clark, and then there's plenty of premium options. For D, oh, okay. I think more than likely you're going three defenders on this slate because you got four, I think, defenders who I love, and you mix and match which three you go, which is Poro, little bit of a drop off since Madison came back. Still not a bad player. I think he's who I'm leaning fading right now of the four that I'm about to talk about. Alexander Arnold, I think you just plug him. Didn't do that great against Arsenal, but against a team like Burnley, he's gonna get forward. He's gonna get involved. He's likely to get a goal contribution. He's gonna take a lot of set pieces. I love Alexander Arnold here. Robbo, um, I think he's fair for that price. He probably, when fully fit, he'd be a K more expensive, I'd say. When he's had pretty these big games like these 22. Not a ton of huge scores there though. But still, this is the matchup for him. I like that. And the last defender, part of my four people in my debate was, I know it's here somewhere, right here, Sergio Reguilon. I probably put him in my thumbnail. Like he had 8 points against Man City, which is almost unheard of when it's all in floor. He had 4 in 15 minutes against Nottingham Forest. Wolves is not a team that you really have to be that afraid of. Like they're gonna concede chances. When Reguilon, if he starts at left wing back, especially, he's gonna get forward. He's gonna take some set pieces. He's cheaper than the other set piece takers on this slate. So like I love Reguilon here. He might be the defender I just go for sure and then debate, or probably Alexander Arnold. And then my debate is probably Poro or Robertson. Goalkeeper. Oh, let me look at just rest of the list. Like, I'm not interested in a ton of the other guys because I'm playing three of those four defenders. Like I said, more than likely than not. Then maybe in GPP I'd fade maybe one or two max. I'm gonna have at least two, I think, of those defenders in every team, like a Pinnock or something. I play someone to pair with one of my set piece taking defenders in a punch spot, like a center back who I hope for a goal from. Like I think these center backs have been winning slates of late and just been just luck of the draw. So I might play for that a little bit. Pinnock or how much is Kwanzaa? I know he wasn't projected. Like yeah, Kwanzaa, I love that. I can see myself pairing one of these set guys with one of the center backs that are cheap, and that's how I'd go about it. I don't think I'd play many other defenders and center backs to pair with set takers and the set takers themselves. In terms of a core, I'm going Alexander Arnold. I'm probably going Reguilon. And I think I'd go Darwin Nunez from here. I think those would be the three guys I'd go. Maybe I say I have Doughty in there though. I like him a lot, but I think I'd have Nunez over him. Can you do this? You can definitely make this work even too. I think I'd avoid putting Doughty in the core though, because I think him or Madison's a tough decision. But Nunez, I think, is my favorite forward by far. So like I think I'd go that. And then I'd maybe go Robbo or Poro in the other utility slot. I think that's what it comes down to. It's an interesting thing. There's a ton of options to go. It's not like one team you can just really stack, although it looks like you can Liverpool on paper, but there's just ways to get off of that. There's a lot of good options on this slate, a lot of good midfielders, and some insane defenders, and I don't think you're gonna hate anyone you have to play here. I think there's an argument for so many different guys, so many different ways to go. I think it'll be a high scoring slate because of that, and I think we're gonna have a good time. So good luck, everyone, and hope you win all the money. Peace, guys.